Every single time I do a video about atheism in any way, I will invariably get some viewer who says, well, you're not really talking about atheism, are you? You're talking about humanism. Well, the truth of the matter is they are correct. Most of the time I am actually talking about humanism. So why do I do that? Simply put, it's just easier. See, atheism, after all, really is not a belief system of any kind. It just means you don't believe in God. It's just kind of a moniker that a lot of people put themselves under. You say, what do you believe? And they say, I'm an atheist. And most of them probably are humanists. I don't actually have the numbers of how many atheists consider themselves humanists, but not all atheists are. And not only that, but humanism itself is a really wide range that comes under that system of beliefs. And so it's not as simple as just saying humanist. I'll say atheist. Most people know what I'm saying. Perhaps humanist would sometimes be more accurate, but then I'd have to go into this long conversation afterwards defining that. At the same time, humanism is a really important thing to talk about because it's an intriguing system of beliefs. It is, shall we say, a belief entirely based on observation, on rational observation, on logic. And those who believe in it like to consider themselves to be rational people. They don't need a god or a holy scripture or a guru. Some people might say humanists do have some gurus, but they don't treat them in quite the same way. I don't think they consider themselves to be worshiping them, per se. And I think that humanism is a wonderful system of beliefs. In many ways, I am a humanist myself, even though I probably wouldn't define myself that way, but it's certainly a part of Omnism, or certainly is a part of my Omnism. And in my opinion, it's a very powerful statement. It is a powerful statement to say, I am going to be a good person simply because I want to be a good person. It's got nothing to do with a God who wants to kill me. It's got nothing to do with a bunch of arbitrary laws. I don't personally see people who believe in a God, in a Bible, Christians, Muslims, Jews, Hindus. I don't consider those people to necessarily be like that, though. I don't think they really follow what is right and wrong for those reasons. But I think that's how perhaps we tend to look at them. Perhaps sometimes because they will make those statements. And I've talked about this in some of my previous videos about morality and where we derive our morality from. And humanists tend to feel that they create their own morality. You know, they derive it simply from observation. You know, what is right, what is wrong, how should we treat our fellow man simply by what harm can we bring to someone else. And Christians or other religious people will say, well, I derive it from God. Now, I don't entirely agree with that. I think the truth is much more complicated than either of those statements. After all, morality did not start with Moses. I think that some Christians tend to think that Muslims and Jews will kind of feel that way, even though obviously we had morality before that. You can look into Babylonian texts, and they obviously had a list of laws actually very similar to ours. And mostly it did revolve around how you treated other people. And the humanist view isn't really true either. I think a lot of humanists like to say, I am a blank slate. I simply took my morality from nothingness. I looked around me and I simply said, okay, I think this is right and this is wrong. The truth is somewhere in the middle. I think that we've been taught morality since we were children, from whatever point of view our parents or those around us, our teachers, the children around us, whomever, we saw those morals from, and we took and rejected them. I like this one, I don't like that one. And it's what I think both religious people and humanists do, to one extent or the other. I think humanists like to ultimately say, okay, I drive this all by myself, as if they sort of existed in a vacuum. And religious people like to say, I derive this from God, as if somehow we took everything we believe directly from God. And of course we didn't. We took it from society. We took it from those generally held social morals. There may be some very specific ones. For instance, there might be some religious people who say, well, for instance, Jews go to church on the Sabbath. They go to church on Saturday, and they say, that is a law I derive from the law. That came from the Ten Commandments. Okay, fine, fine. But in the end, that really has more to do with being Jewish than being a good person. You're not necessarily going to harm someone or not harm someone, depending on which day you decide to worship. That's just, that is a Jewish choice, which some Christians also follow. Some Christians go to church on Sunday, some on Saturday, many Muslims go to church on Friday, and many Christians also go to church on Wednesday night. But the point is that it is complicated, and none of us simply take our morality from one place or the other. Humanists do not exist in a vacuum. Christians do not exist entirely in the Bible. There's obviously a lot of laws in the Bible we don't follow because they don't make sense in our society. They may have made sense in the biblical society. By biblical society, I just mean Jewish society, you know, the 3,000 to 4,000 years ago, when those things were instituted, and some of them don't make sense now. You know, we don't really care whether or not you have a 4-inch ledge around your roof anymore, because no one's going to go rolling off it. But humanism is a very beautiful thing. I love where it comes from. I think it's an excellent way to look at the world. I am very intrigued to see how it evolves. Obviously, it has been growing and growing and growing in our society and all over the world, as certain people have come to feel that quote-unquote religion is no longer viable for them. Now, you can always debate over whether or not humanism is a religion, because on the one hand you could say any system of beliefs is a religion. But many humanists will say, well, since we don't have a deity, we're not a religion. But really, that's just the way they choose to define a religion. To them, religion is something with a God, and they don't like the idea of God, you know. So, and even then, this is why I often don't like saying humanist. I know not all humanists believe exactly that way. So, in closing, when I say atheist very often, yes, I do mean humanist. I may try to say humanist more in the future, but I do try to only use the term when I'm having to use it very specifically, for whatever that's worth. I'm the urban omnist, still trying to figure out the little things between all these things, stuff, whatever. Humanism versus atheism. Humanists believe in things and stuff and things about stuff that happens to things and things that were things when stuff was stuff back in the time of things and stuff, because stuff does things. So anyway, we have humanism and we have atheism, and one is spelled with an H and one is spelled with an A, and they are different things, but they're also kind of the same thing, but they're also kind of not the same as the different things. This is going to be a weird video.